Reddit, what is something you witnessed that made you question reality and why?
I used to have dreams that would later come true. Bear with me. Everyone has experienced déjà vu, but these were different. I learned quickly not to mention them because everyone would dismiss it as déjà vu. But in order to prove myself right, I would write down every dream I could remember right after I woke up. It took a few years and thought about stopping the experiment many times until one day, driving to work, I passed a yellow Jeep with a red bearded guy who waved at me because I also had a Jeep, and the license plate on the front of his vehicle was an airbrush tropical decorative plate that said Aloha. I was instantly hit with déjà vu, wrote down the description of the scene on a banking envelope I had in my car, and after work started rummaging through the journals I kept. It took a few hours, but 4 years earlier, I had a dream of the exact same situation. Yellow Jeep, decorative Aloha plate, red bearded guy, and driving to work. I didn't work yet when the dream happened. I had the weirdest fucking feeling ever seeing the two descriptions side by side.
Kinda needs a backstory. I basically lived a week of my life in a dream. It was so real. All the feelings and emotions, hack. I dreamt that I went to sleep and woke up tired and contemplating between going to school or staying and sleep. After 1 week passed, I woke up, went to school, and did a test I already had done last week. It fucks you up going to sleep the 26th of May and waking up on the 19th of May. After that experience, every once in a while, I question my surroundings and if what I'm currently living is real. I kept a little journal where I would write down what happened that day and check the next day if what happened is still written down. Even though it never happened again, 5 years ago. I'm still paranoid sometimes that what's happening isn't real.
Well, this may sound pretty dumb, but yeah. Matrix did that to me. Like, there are some things in my life that make no sense at all, but I did never question it before I watched that movie. Well, my school life sucked pretty hard, typical mobbing and stuff, but I knew I'm a normal person. That's stuff that happens, etc. After the shittiest 4 years in row of my and my family's life, death of great and grandma and cat, mum got cancer, she got really down, sometimes picking on me. I had no safe place except my PC, but got used to it. Then life takes 180 degrees. I get a wonderful girlfriend with long-distance relationship now lasting 2 years. My mum got way better, beating cancer. Now that I told you the tragedy of Darth Sobsob the emo, here's the point. Sometimes I wonder about parallel universes. I have that feeling to almost know that in an alternative reality, I killed myself. How? In those 4 years, I got a drinking problem because that's what all in my class did so I could get some acceptance, right? Well, I got so drunk, I slept in the closet, while not being able to control myself. Throwing up on myself, getting extremely cold, shaking. Not the average level drunk. Got in the bed, shitting myself. Next day, well, I lived with the worst hangover ever. Since that day, I know that this was way to close. Well, yeah, and since that day, I wonder. And sometimes reality just doesn't feel like reality anymore.
I hired a vehicle for a vacation trip to the countryside through a friend. He gave me the contact info of the driver, and the driver gave me the name of his vehicle. Here in our country, vehicles usually have its name on a panel above the windshield. I hired the vehicle named Raphael. Because the town isn't really big, I am a little familiar with the names of the vehicles that can be rented, but I never heard or seen Raphael before. I waited in the kiosk to personally talk with the driver about the rent. While waiting, I saw the vehicle named Raphael. I made the vehicle stop and talked to the driver. He told me he ain't got any reservations for rent because it is the first time he visited the town. When I looked at the street, there goes another Raphael, the one I actually rented. I thought, what are the fucking odds? 2 Raphaels, a name I never heard and see before, now here at the same time? Seriously? I hurriedly crossed the street, but after a few steps, I thought I need to apologize to the driver of the initial Raphael. When I turned around, nothing was there. No Raphael, no driver. I froze, confused of what's happening, and immediately went to talk to the actual Raphael I rented. I asked him if he saw the other Raphael, but he told me I wasn't talking at all to anybody when he saw me on the kiosk across the street.
4 years ago, our 9-year-old Staffy died from heart failure. We knew she was going to die, and the vet told us it would be sudden. And the best thing to do for her would be to let her be herself, and one day she would probably just drop. Anyway, it didn't quite work out like that. And one night she started panting heavily. And we just knew. She died in our arms a few hours later, and gave the famous Staffy chatter as she went, as if to say, "Thank you for loving me. I love you too." I'd only known that dog for a year, as she was my now ex's, but we took to each other instantly. She was very much a man's dog. I work from home, and she would curl up under my desk, and every now and then jump onto my lap for a fuss and a cuddle. That dog followed me everywhere. Anyway, after she died, I would hear her at the back door, next to me, under my desk, following me. Everything she used to do. She was very vocal, even for a Staffy, and I know it was her. A few weeks later, we got a rescue dog who is half Staffy, and as soon as he came into the house, I stopped hearing her. The new dog sits under my desk, chatters to me, jumps up for cuddles, and follows me everywhere. It's as if she kinda jumped into him. I know that it's just the breed, but I like to think that when she finally left me, she made sure the new dog carried on from her. I love her for that, and I absolutely adore Buster.
After my stepdad was kicked out of our house, we had stayed with a friend. The next morning, us, as in my whole family minus my stepdad, and them, the friend and her family, went out for the day to have some fun. The thing is, what happened that caused him to be kicked out was really traumatic for me, considering that I was the one who was targeted. I was in shock, and I couldn't really grasp anything that was going on around me. That day, we saw some friends from church. It was a family, a mom, dad, and 2 boys. The older boy and I used to have a puppy love thing going on when we were like 9 to 10 years old, but things quickly got awkward and we didn't talk, ever, at all. It always struck me as odd how, after such a pivotal time in my life, right after, I see this kid I used to have a crush on, who I dearly missed having a friendship with, out and about with his family. Not a clue in the world with what had just happened. I just started thinking, this isn't real. After I said hello to his dad and pretended not to notice him, and he did the same to me.
In a way, being so mentally ill that I was suicidal. My reality was that nothing would ever change, except to get worse. There was no future. There was no point. My husband would be sad, little guilt there. But I was honestly a burden he probably stayed with out of obligation, and he'd recover and move on super fast and be better off without me. I would never amount to anything. I would never matter to anyone. I would never hold down a job. I would never finish a project. I would never live life at all. So death was such a welcomed thing. I recently bought some more eyeglasses, extra pairs, cute ones, just to have different glasses, and I got a case to display them in. Ever since I was a kid, I wanted more than just one pair of glasses I had to wear all the time. So I finally made that happen. My husband pointed out to me that it made him really happy, a little proud, and honestly a little relieved that I did something like that for myself. Something unnecessary that I just wanted to do because it made me smile. Because my reality a few years ago was that I was worthless. I didn't deserve nice things. It was a waste of money to buy anything nice for me. I wouldn't buy new clothes no matter how stained or torn mine were. I would wear shoes that were worn to a point of giving me bloody blisters. I deserved to be in dirty, torn clothes and shoes that made me bleed. I didn't deserve anything better than that. Maybe not the answer you were wanting, but being that ill means that you live in a completely different reality than what everyone around you is experiencing.
I had a dream once where I woke up in a more technologically advanced place, in a room with people who all knew me and who were expecting me to wake up when I did. They told me I worked there and they were happy to see me there, and one guy took me all around the office building and talked to people with me. We had lunch outside and talked about so many things. I don't remember what specifically, but it was what they did in that place and what I did as my job, why they did it, etc. At the end of it, he took me to a long set of stairs that ended in water. But it wasn't water, it was something else, and told me it was time for me to go back. He told me I'd have to walk into the water until I was fully submerged, and then I'd wake up. He said I could go backwards and look at him the whole time if I was scared. I was deathly frightened, but I did what he said. I asked if it was real, if this was a dream, and he kept repeating it was real. He told me it was, but I needed to go back. He looked sad, but kind, and I remember his expression as I was walking backwards toward this water, slowly getting deeper. It was so warm, and once I was up to my chin, I went to take the next step back, and I heard him switch from it was real, and I needed to go to, this is real, but you need to wake up now. And I woke up instantly. It was so jarring I cried, and it still makes me uncomfortable thinking about it.
Woke up in the middle of the night one time and saw something that I still think of regularly. I was in 2nd grade. My grandmother was living with us at the time in the spare bedroom, and my parents were out of town. I was raised in the South where life gets real Baptist. My mom made nearly everything about being a Christian. I was into it the most at that point in my life. I prayed several times to see an angel. I had heard Benny Hinn's crazy ass talking about seeing Michael. So here I am, 2nd grade, no lights on, big boy now, and the door open when I wake up in the middle of the night. No noise, not even enough light to catch many shadows. Suddenly, I see an extremely dim light in the hallway. I thought the light next to the front door was on. Hoping it was my parents, I watched as the light grew too large to be coming from the foyer. I was terrified. I noticed the light seemed to pulse slowly. Each pulse, the light grew brighter. Eventually, the light became so bright that it was brighter than the light bulb in the hallway right beside my door. At that point, I screamed loudly until my grandmother woke up and came in my room. My door was directly next to hers. As soon as she opened the door to the guest room, the light disappeared. I tell her and ask if she saw the light through the cracks of the door before she opened it. Nope. I am agnostic, and literally the only reason I'm not atheist is because of that moment. What in the actual fuck did I see? It haunts me to this day.
I woke up one night with a solidly black hooded figure standing next to my bed, watching me sleep. I've had sleep paralysis before, but could never move during it. I could move and started freaking the fuck out, thinking it was some weirdo in my house. I screamed at my husband to get up and hopped out on his side of the bed. He was completely disoriented and ran into the kitchen to get the gun he had in the corner. This whole time I'm watching this thing still standing on my side of the bed, and I yelled at it, "What the fuck are you doing, dude? What the hell do you want?" It just slightly turned its head and looked at me. I go back in the kitchen and my husband goes into the bedroom. I'm hysterical, and he comes out a second later and says, "Babe, there's no one in there." I don't know how else to describe it. Besides, it felt like my entire reality shifted, like the room actually tilted for a second. I told him there was no way. I know I saw someone. Hell, I could have reached out and touched him when I woke up. I was sure of it. He checked under the bed, our closet, made sure both the doors were locked. Nothing. Our house is very, very small, so even if it somehow managed to get in through one of the painted shut windows, I would have seen it leave our bedroom and make its way out whatever way it came in. I didn't sleep the rest of that night and for a few days afterwards. Every time I would manage to drift to sleep, I would snap back awake from paranoia, and it always felt like I was being watched, or I could feel someone enter the room at night. It was like that for months afterward. It's really terrifying to be told that something that you know with every fiber of your being was there and you saw it isn't really there. I felt like a crazy person.
I have no explanation for this. I wasn't young, so can't chalk it up to a developing brain working out its kinks. If I wasn't so rational, I would be convinced that we are living in a simulated reality and I happened across a glitch. So in 2014, I was getting in shape by bike riding this trail every day. It's a very popular walking, biking trail. For those savvy with Toronto areas, it's the Beltline that runs through Mount Pleasant Cemetery. It was a very busy afternoon on this particular day, and I know this because I was so frustrated with all the pedestrian traffic and constantly having to stop, go around huge groups, etc. So this is why my brain was so focused on the people around me that I was able to book this. There was this one guy who was walking. He had a pink shirt on. I passed him. He stuck out because I'm an asshole, and I noticed a guy wearing pink and thought, huh, that's a guy wearing pink. Anyways, 5 to 10 minutes later, remember, I am biking, he was walking. I turn a curve on the trail, and there's that same motherfucker in a pink shirt. Same guy, same haircut, same shirt, same guy. I have no explanation except maybe there was a shortcut that cut ahead on the trail that I wasn't aware of. If that isn't the case, I don't know what to tell you or myself. It was the same guy, I guarantee it.
Well, this may sound pretty dumb, but yeah. Matrix did that to me. Like, there are some things in my life that make no sense at all, but I did never question it before I watched that movie. Well, my school life sucked pretty hard, typical mobbing and stuff, but I knew I'm a normal person. That's stuff that happens, etc. After the shittiest 4 years in row of my and my family's life, death of great and grandma and cat, mum got cancer, she got really down, sometimes picking on me. I had no safe place except my PC, but got used to it. Then life takes 180 degrees. I get a wonderful girlfriend with long-distance relationship now lasting 2 years. My mum got way better, beating cancer. Now that I told you the tragedy of Darth Sob the emo, here's the point. Sometimes I wonder about parallel universes. I have that feeling to almost know that in an alternative reality, I killed myself. How? In those 4 years, I got a drinking problem because that's what all in my class did, so I could get some acceptance, right? Well, I got so drunk, I slept in the closet, while not being able to control myself. Throwing up on myself, getting extremely cold, shaking. Not the average level drunk. Got in the bed, shitting myself. Next day, well, I lived with the worst hangover ever. Since that day, I know that this was way to close. Well, yeah, and since that day, I wonder. And sometimes reality just doesn't feel like reality anymore.
I woke from my slumber in the middle of the night, and only a few seconds after waking up, I hear what sounds like shattered glass falling. I got up from my bed and looked out my bedroom window at the shops across the road, and there is a car in the window of the shop. There's a ram raid in progress across the street from my house, so I decided this situation calls for an adult. So I run downstairs and into my parents' room and go, there's a car halfway through the window of the deli. And so my dad got up to come and have a gander. I think my mom followed, but I don't remember exactly, because it was about this time that I remembered I keep a bong on my windowsill, and I just invited my parents to come and look out my window. So I ran upstairs and into my room before my parents and moved the bong. The old man eventually makes his way to my room and has a gander out the window, and very soon after the thieves are back in their car and leaving the scene. We didn't call police or anything. There was an alarm going off at the shop, so somebody was notified and we all just went back to sleep. Now I'm certain that this happened. What makes me question reality is when I list this event with the others I witnessed from my bedroom window. I've seen what seemed to be a man following a Japanese exchange student we had. I've seen a smash and grab happen at the bottle shop. I've seen a fire start at the cafe, and the person I think lit it, fleeing the scene soon. And I've seen a small standalone ATM get wheeled out of the deli on a trolley one night. When I list these things off in conversation, nobody believes me, and so I start questioning myself.